Hello my friends, this is the fourth and last video in a series of videos on 43 vibration cult leaders. In this fourth video, we're going to look at the connections, this chemistry between Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles that's so critical to the development of Heaven's Gate and the disaster that occurred when, I think it was 39 people killed themselves. They became so delusional. It's amazing how incredibly delusional this cult was. How they got indoctrinated into completely insane ideas. Intelligent, productive, healthy people becoming totally delusional. If we can understand this, it could give us tools to prevent this from happening in the future, from working with people who become subject to these problems in the future. And I think that these planetary configurations really are there. We're building a model that we're having increasing confidence works. And part of that increasing confidence is seeing that those planetary configurations that we identified as being connected to being cult leaders and Bonnie Nettles being this Merlin character. Two additional ways that we can test them is by prediction. When a person has an episode, an event related to those activities, that planetary configuration is getting triggered by transits or progressions or other predictive techniques. The other thing is, when you connect with someone and you share very closely on these parts of your life that are very important to you, you're connecting with those planetary configurations. If these planetary configurations that we identified for Bonnie Nettles, if they do not connect with Marshall Applewhite's chart, our confidence in our whole model goes way down, way down, because they must connect if our model is correct. If they do connect strongly, which means at least two of his planets are sitting on top of these configurations, or it's all resonating in a composite chart, I'll show you all this, then it strengthens our confidence. I could barely wait to look at this to find out, because this is going to tell me whether I'm possibly on the right track or whether this is all just coincidental and nothing's there. The compatibility is there. That's why I'm making this video and going into detail. It is there. It increases our confidence. This is how we build a model. It's a long, hard road, but once we build this model, now we can check if we could get 20 or 30 other cult leaders, we can then carefully test it. I don't know if that will ever happen or not, but this is the process that's needed. That's why it's good to work in areas where there is a lot of data so you can then test it out. So this was not the smartest research in the world because we don't have a lot of data. We can't test it thoroughly. At least we don't have that data now. I don't know how many cult leaders there are in the world. Maybe there are a lot that we don't hear about on a smaller scale. But anyway, we're building the model, and the fact that it will work with the compatibility, as we shall see, strengthens our confidence in it, that it would, it's hopeful. It looks promising that if we collect new data, the model will be tested and confirmed, which gives us much higher, even higher confidence. So these are the charts we want to look at. We want to look at Bonnie's 13, her 13 times 3, multiply it by 3 again, gets us to the 117, because that 117 chart is where her Uranus and Neptune are conjunct and all those aspects occur. And then the 13 times 3 times 3 times 8, the 936, where we saw that the strong planetary configuration. So the first thing we do is a bi-wheel. We're going to take Bonnie's 13 vibe. It says inner ring, Bonnie Nettles, 13th harmonic. Outer ring, Marshall Applewhite, 13th harmonic. It's 13 to 13. In 13 vibe in both wheels, is what I'm trying to say. Bonnie's in the inner ring. Bonnie's 13 vibe chart is in the inner ring. She has a Venus sextile Uranus. Really tight. Uranus is 1 Taurus 46. Venus is 2 Cancer 00. That's a 14-minute orb. A very tight sextile. A very tight aspect like that of Venus and Uranus in 13 vibe makes the person want someone special. They get excited by someone who's special. If Marshall Applewhite has planets connecting to that sextile, it will make the connection that he could become that special person. Now, it's only 2 planets. That's why we're going to go to these higher, these overtones, which have more than 2 planets, and we see if a large configuration happens. But right away, right off the bat with the 13th vibe, his Venus is at 1 Pisces 48, making an almost exact, a 2-minute orb, almost exact sextile to his Uranus trine her Venus. So his Venus is sextile Uranus, just like her Venus is. They're equidistant from Uranus. So her Uranus is going to be at the composite Venus. So this is a very powerful pattern. And in addition to that, his Sun at 1.5 Aries is squared her Venus. So his Sun is getting a little bit involved as well. So right away, we're seeing some sparks flying, some excitement between them. Now we triple it, we go up to 13 times 3. That changes her Venus-Uranus sextile into an opposition. So that's her opposition, and then a third planet gets involved. And the inner ring is Bonnie Nettles, and there's that Venus-Uranus again, now appears as an opposition. As you triple the vibe, the aspect becomes 3 times lower. So the sextile becomes an opposition. You can think of it as 60 times 3 is 180. Anyway, if you're not familiar with it, this part of vibrational astrology, what happens is as you do overtones of a vibration, the aspect becomes simpler. So it goes from a sextile to an opposition. There's that Venus-Uranus with his Venus on it, but now, which we already saw, his Venus connecting with her Venus-Uranus, but now her Neptune and his Mars are involved. So now we have 3 planets from her, and his Venus, his Mars, and his Sun, 3 planets from him. So, quite extraordinary. And actually, if you go back to the previous chart, I put her Neptune at 21 Cancer and his Mars at 21 Pisces in a yellow box, and they are trying each other. And what's happening is that his Mars trine her Neptune is actually in a 9 vibe or an 18 vibe to this Venus Sun Venus thing. So Venus Uranus Venus. So basically what's happening is the Mars Neptune trine merges in with the Venus Uranus when we triple the vibe. So there's the Venus Uranus, and the Mars Neptune becomes sextile and trine those planets. We have a huge configuration. Her Venus, Uranus, and Neptune. This is very romantic. 13 times 3 is 39 vibe. This is where her dream come true lover comes in. And there's his Venus and his Mars sitting right on it. So there's a romantic excitement between them. Feeling almost of being like soulmates. Now we triple it again, and we're up to 117 vibe, and her Jupiter gets involved in the configuration. So as we triple, another planet becomes involved. Her Jupiter comes in, sextiling both Venuses and trine her own Neptune. So it adds yet another overtone. So what you're having is 13, you multiply by 3, you multiply by 3 again, and the planetary configurations remain strong, powerful. New planets get involved. Other planets go out of orb. So the configuration remains strong from 13 to 13 times 3 to 13 times 9. Very, very strong connection. So this is what we're looking for. Does she connect to him? And we see that she connects to him in terms of excitability, romance, and the joy of finding someone that you share ideas with. And by the way, sometimes you'll see some surprises. This is in the 936 vibration, where he has a Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, T-square, and that connects to Jupiter. Anyway, you'll see additional things going on. These are side themes. I have written down here at the bottom. These are side themes. There are always side themes in a relationship. Additional things. So if you're exploring, you may notice other additional things going on. I just wanted to mention that. One more thing. In looking at compatibility, one thing we do in vibrational astrology is we run this feature in the Sirius software to see what vibrations are strongest between two people. And I copied and pasted all of the vibrations that have a score of 400 or more. I picked 400 as a cutoff because it's a round number, and it gave me 12 vibrations. And it shows me that the fourth highest vibration is 234. 234 is 127, is 117 times 2. That's the 117. That's like the core vibration that a lot of these overtones are built off of. Her Uranus and Neptune are in 117 vibe. They become almost exactly conjunct in 117 vibe. So this is closely connected to her strongest vibe. What happens is this. You take a vibe that's strong for you. If somebody else comes along and they have planets connecting with your strong vibe, they become part of what you're excited about. That, whatever that vibe indicates, is important to you. Here it's Bonnie's spiritualism, her visions, her quest for healing, her search for a paradise. Marshall Applewhite connects with that. So let's look at the planetary configuration. In the calculation of these scores, most of the weight is given to the composite chart, because the composite chart is actually more powerful than the bi-wheel, believe it or not. Our research has confirmed this over and over and over again. Our research on married couples, for example, confirms it. So this is the 468 harmonic composite chart. This is the 127, what am I looking at here? 468 is 127 times 4. Yeah, so we're going to look at that, and we see that we want to look at the 127 vibe, so this happens to be 127 times 4. And we see that there's a Saturn opposition Moon Uranus. There's a Saturn Pluto Uranus. Very disturbing patterns indicating that this 127 vibe that's so important to Bonnie Nettles in terms of spiritual healing and psychic insight is activated by Marshall Applewhite with a big emphasis on Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and Venus is involved. Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and also the Moon, the Saturn opposition Moon, Uranus, are extremely difficult combinations. They often lead to sudden violent changes, which is exactly what happened with the mass suicide. So very inharmonious, very inclined to radical things to totally overturn a system. So this is exactly what played out in the mass suicide and the shocking, strange, bizarre things that happened. So, conclusions. We've created a model that fits all 5 people. The research required dozens of hours. The net result of all this effort is a model that works well. It is only a model. It has not been tested with new data. And so therefore we have only modest confidence in it. However, the confidence that we have is greater than the confidence we have in other astrology ideas, which have not been rigorously analyzed like we have here, where you try to fit a formula to every chart that you know about in some area, in this case, cult leaders. Like we're looking at every chart and not just cherry picking or randomly picking cases that happen to fit what we expect. Making a real discovery is time consuming. Building a model first helps us make discoveries rather than just test our assumptions. So after all this work, we have a new, fresh idea of what's going on with cult leaders, also associates like the Merlins in these groups, what's going on in their charts, and we can define that pretty clearly and definitively and see if it works with the new data. Okay. So again, this is on the importance of critical thinking skills and keeping your mind grounded so you don't go off into these wild fantasies and think they're real. The wild visions are important, they're helpful, and they are true symbolically or energetically. We just need to be able to distinguish that from just the mundane physical reality. So if you're interested in evidence-based astrology, I highly recommend the Cosmic Discovery Conference. The first one is April 26th to 28th, 2026 in Nashville, Tennessee in the United States. You can visit cosmology.org for more information and to register. So becoming part of this conference allows you to become part of the whole evidence-based movement. There are also other programs like Cosmobiology Institute has a monthly research meeting, which is free, and I have a YouTube membership meeting where we meet twice a month, and that costs $10 a month. So lots of resources available. That's it, my friends. That's the model we built for cult leaders and also advisors to the cult leaders. So thank you very much. If you subscribe to this channel, it's an enormous help. Subscribing is free. You just click on that subscribe button and it helps this channel grow. It's tremendous help. So I appreciate it if you can do that. And if you become a member of the online meetings, you will have access to the monthly meetings, 2 meetings a month, and discounts to some commercial software. Okay, that's it, my friends. Thank you very much for participating in this. God bless. Namaste.